Mona Lisa, the Sistine Chapel, and the birth of Venus. These are just a few of the most beautiful pieces of art ever created in human history. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the Renaissance, one of the most exciting periods in art history. From the 14th to the 17th century, this cultural revolution saw art, literature, and science flourish. What made it special wasn't just new ideas, but how artists used beauty to connect with something divine. As philosopher Roger Scruton said, "Beauty is the means by which we transcend the world. It is the emblem of a higher reality." Now we're counting down the top 10 greatest Renaissance masters, exploring their origins, major works, and why they're still celebrated today. Let's get started. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Raphael, born in 1483 in the picturesque town of Urbino, Italy. His father was a painter, and Raphael grew up surrounded by art, so it was no surprise when he became one of the most sought-after painters in Rome. Raphael was known for his impeccable technique and ability to create graceful, harmonious compositions. Think of it as the perfect balance between form, color, and emotion. Here's a fun fact about Raphael. He actually lived a very short life. He died at only 37 years old, but in that brief span, he created an immense body of work, including some of the most beloved paintings of the Renaissance. Let's look at some of his most impressive contributions. One of his most famous works would have to be the School of Athens. This fresco in the Vatican is a masterpiece of perspective. Raphael perfectly balances the figures, creating an intellectual space that feels alive. Up next, we have the Sistine Madonna. This piece shows the Virgin Mary with a calm and divine grace, embodying Raphael's ability to capture serene beauty. Catholics watching this will know about the Transfiguration. It's filled with emotional intensity, capturing Christ's miraculous transformation in a way that's dynamic and moving. Then there's the Madonna of the Meadow, a beautiful, intimate portrayal of Mary and the baby Jesus, showcasing Raphael's softer, more tender style. Last but not least, we have the portrait of Baldassare Castiglione. This is a delicate and thoughtful portrait of the Italian diplomat and author, reflecting Raphael's skill at capturing the personality of his subjects. So, why exactly does Raphael rank at number 10? Well, Raphael's works are undeniably beautiful and technically perfect, but sometimes his pieces lacked the emotional depth and complexity of others on this list. Still, his harmonious style earns him a solid spot at number 10. At number 9, we've got Titian, born in 1488 in the stunning town of Pieve di Cadore in the Venetian Alps. Titian became one of the leading artists of the Venetian school and was famous for his mastery of color. He had this incredible ability to blend warm, rich tones that made his paintings feel alive and vibrant. Here's a fun tidbit. Titian was highly respected by kings and popes, and even Emperor Charles V gave him a pension to ensure that he could keep painting. Now that's what I call a royal endorsement. What about his major works? Let's take a look. One of Titian's most iconic paintings is Venus of Urbino. This sensual nude is a masterclass in the use of color and form. It's a timeless example of Titian's skill in making the human body feel vibrant and real. Then we have Assumption of the Virgin. This altarpiece is filled with light and energy, showing the Virgin Mary's ascent to heaven with breathtaking drama. Diana and Actaeon is another one of his legendary works, a dynamic mythological scene where Titian uses color and movement to create a sense of urgency and passion. Next, there's The Rape of Europa, another mythological masterpiece, where Titian's bold use of color and texture really makes this scene feel larger than life. And we can't forget the allegory of Prudence. In this deeply symbolic piece, Titian uses the faces of his ancestors to represent the passage of time, an incredibly unique and thoughtful painting. So, why did Titian land at number 9? His work was absolutely groundbreaking, particularly with his use of color and dramatic emotion. But in his later years, he did tend to lean on the same compositions, which maybe slowed his evolution as an artist. Still, his influence on future generations of painters is undeniable. At number 8, we have Andrea del Sarto, born in 1486 in Florence. Known for his flawless technique, Andrea became famous for his elegant, refined style. He was so skilled that people called him Andrea il senza errori, which translates to Andrea the Faultless. Here's a fun fact about Andrea. Despite his immense skill, he never quite received the fame of his contemporaries, like Michelangelo or Raphael. It's said that his humble nature kept him from seeking the limelight. So, let's dive into his major works. One standout is the Madonna of the Harpies. This serene, detailed piece is a perfect example of Andrea's ability to combine grace with precision. Another major work is the Sacrifice of Isaac. This emotional piece shows Andrea's talent for creating dramatic, dynamic scenes. Then there's the Last Supper. Andrea takes a more intimate approach to this famous scene, capturing it with simplicity and grace. The Virgin and Child with Saints is another beautiful piece, showcasing Andrea's skill at creating spiritual and emotional depth in his works. And finally, Portrait of a Lady. This subtle, haunting portrait shows Andrea's ability to capture the essence of his subjects. Why did Andrea land at number 8? His technical perfection and calm elegance put him high on the list, but his works sometimes lacked the emotional punch and depth of the other masters. Still, he's undoubtedly one of the Renaissance's finest. At number 7 is Caravaggio, born in 1571 in Milan. Known for his dramatic use of light and shadow, called chiaroscuro, Caravaggio was a revolutionary figure in the Baroque era. His paintings are raw, intense, and full of realism, making him a key player in the development of modern art. Here's a fun fact about Caravaggio. His life was far from ordinary. He was involved in brawls, had violent outbursts, and even killed a man in a duel. Talk about living on the edge. So what were his major works? Let's take a look. The Calling of St. Matthew is a classic Caravaggio piece where he uses light to create drama and intensity. You can practically feel the divine moment when Matthew is called. Then, Judith. Beheading Holofernes is a gripping, visceral scene where Caravaggio captures the brutality of the moment with chilling realism. The Supper at Emmaus is another great example of Caravaggio's genius. He uses light and space in a way that makes the scene feel almost cinematic. Next, the Crucifixion of St. Peter is hauntingly powerful, with dramatic contrast and emotional weight. Finally, the Bacchus is a unique and sensual piece, blending mythology and realism in a way that was ahead of its time. So, why did Caravaggio land at number 7? His revolutionary use of light and shadow made him an absolute game changer, but his sometimes overly violent compositions and chaotic life kept him from climbing higher on this list. Still, his legacy in the world of art is undeniable. Coming in at number 6 is Tintoretto, born Jacopo Robusti in 1518 in Venice, Italy. Known for his dramatic compositions and bold use of perspective, Tintoretto was nicknamed Il Furioso for his energetic style and the speed at which he worked. His art was a thrilling mix of Michelangelo's muscular forms and Titian's vibrant color. Fun fact, Tintoretto's workshop had a sign that read, "The drawing of Michelangelo and the color of Titian." This was his ambitious way of telling the world exactly what he aimed to achieve, and he often did. Also, unlike most artists of his time, he rarely left Venice, making his hometown both his canvas and his muse. let's explore some of Tintoretto's most impressive works. The Last Supper, located in the San Giorgio Maggiore in Venice, this is not your typical Last Supper scene. Tintoretto's version is dramatic and dynamic, with stark lighting and angels swirling above, giving it an otherworldly feel. The Miracle of the Slave. This painting's intense motion and the dramatic rescue scene show Tintoretto's mastery of storytelling and action. The way he captured movement made the figures seem almost alive. Paradise, one of the largest oil paintings in the world. This masterpiece in the Doge's palace is filled with over 100 figures, each distinct and beautifully detailed. The scale alone is mind-blowing. The Origin of the Milky Way. This mythological piece shows Hercules nursing from Hera with a celestial twist. The sense of movement and divine light showcases Tintoretto's flair for the dramatic. So, why does Tintoretto rank at number 6? His boldness in composition and lighting made his works powerful and unique, but his speed sometimes led to criticisms of a rough or unfinished look. At number 5, we have Jan van Eyck, born around 1380 in Marseille, Belgium. Van Eyck was a master of oil painting and is often credited with perfecting the technique, making him one of the most influential Northern Renaissance artists. His attention to detail and ability to capture light and texture set him apart from his contemporaries. Fun fact, Van Eyck is often mistakenly thought to be the inventor of oil painting, but he was more of a pioneer in perfecting it. He was also quite secretive about his methods, which only added to his mystique. He famously signed his paintings with Als ich kann, as I can, suggesting his deep pride in his craft. Now, let's take a look at some of his most famous works. The Arnolfini portrait is his most iconic piece. This detailed double portrait of a couple in their home is a masterpiece of realism. The use of light, texture, and the reflection in the mirror are all incredible details that show Van Eyck's unparalleled skill. The Madonna of Chancellor Rollin is another standout. The intricate details, the serene yet powerful figure of the Madonna, and the way the background landscape is painted show Van Eyck's extraordinary technical ability. The Ghent altarpiece, a monumental polyptych, is one of his greatest achievements. It's known for its rich color, intricate details, and the depth of religious symbolism. The central panel, with the adoration of the mystic lamb, is particularly renowned for its clarity and the realism of its figures. The Virgin and Child with Chancellor Rollin is another beautiful work that shows his mastery of light and shadow. The depth of the scene and the intricate detail of the architectural space give it an almost three-dimensional feel. The Man with a Red Turban is a self-portrait, and one of the earliest known ones in Western art. The realistic portrayal of the artist himself, his expression, and the use of light all demonstrate his skill at capturing personality and depth. Why does Van Eyck earn the number 5 spot? His contributions to oil painting and his ability to create stunning, realistic details make him a true master of the Renaissance. However, while his works are visually brilliant, some argue they lack the emotional depth and narrative complexity of others on this list. Still, his technical prowess and impact on the art world are undeniable. At number 4, we have Albrecht Dürer, born in 1471 in Nuremberg, Germany. Dürer was a polymath, an artist, mathematician, and engraver, whose technical precision and innovative use of perspective made him one of the most influential figures in the Northern Renaissance. He was highly regarded for his ability to combine the tradition of Gothic art with the emerging Renaissance styles from Italy, pushing the boundaries of both mediums and themes. Fun fact, Dürer was one of the first artists to gain widespread recognition outside of Italy thanks to his travels across Europe. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse is one of Dürer's most famous woodcuts, showcasing his skill in the medium. The dramatic, dynamic depiction of the biblical horsemen conveys a sense of urgency and intensity, demonstrating his unparalleled mastery of detail and composition. The Young Hare is another masterpiece, demonstrating Dürer's exceptional skill in rendering natural forms. This watercolor painting of a hare is often regarded as a triumph of observational art, capturing the texture of fur, the gleam in the animal's eyes, and the fine details of its delicate form. Self-Portrait at 28 is a striking example of his skill in self-portraiture. The work is often interpreted as a statement of Dürer's sense of artistic identity, presenting himself as a noble and confident figure. The level of detail and realism in the piece highlights his precision and mastery of the oil medium. Adoration of the Magi is another iconic work in Dürer's oeuvre, showcasing his ability to combine rich religious symbolism with the humanist ideals of the Renaissance. The painting features complex composition and a detailed rendering of the Magi, animals, and the architecture. Why does Dürer earn the number 4 spot? Dürer's contributions to engraving, his detailed depictions of the natural world, and his intellectual approach to art set him apart from many of his contemporaries. His works, filled with intricate detail, offer not just beauty, but also intellectual depth and insight into the human experience. Though he may not have the same level of emotional resonance as some other Renaissance giants, his technical prowess and innovative ideas in printmaking, as well as his profound impact on Northern Renaissance art, secure his place as one of the greatest artists in history. At number 3, we have Sandro Botticelli, born in 1445 in Florence. Botticelli is best known for his graceful, ethereal depictions of mythological and religious subjects. His ability to blend beauty with symbolism made him one of the most beloved artists of the Renaissance. Botticelli's work is defined by its smooth lines and flowing compositions, making his pieces feel almost dreamlike. Fun fact: Botticelli was a favorite of the Medici family, who were major patrons of the arts during the Renaissance. His most famous works were commissioned by the powerful family, and some historians even speculate that Botticelli was influenced by the Medici's interest in Neoplatonism, a philosophy that emphasized the spiritual and intellectual. Now, let's dive into his most famous works. The Birth of Venus is undoubtedly Botticelli's most iconic painting. The graceful, flowing lines and the dreamy atmosphere of the piece make it a timeless example of beauty and harmony. Venus's emergence from the sea is symbolic of spiritual purity and divine beauty. Primavera is another masterpiece filled with mythological imagery. The lush garden scene is full of symbolism and intricate details, showcasing Botticelli's skill at weaving narrative into his art. The Adoration of the Magi is a stunning work filled with rich color and texture. The portrayal of the three kings, presenting gifts to the infant Christ, is full of warmth and tenderness, and Botticelli's attention to detail is remarkable. Then there's the mystical Nativity. This piece stands out for its combination of religious devotion and vivid realism, capturing both the divinity and the humanity of the nativity scene. Lastly, The Calumny of Apelles is an allegorical work where Botticelli depicts a scene from Greek mythology. The allegory serves as a visual critique of the dangers of slander and lies, showing Botticelli's ability to combine beauty with social commentary. So why does Botticelli land at number 3? His works are the epitome of grace, beauty, and elegance, and his ability to fuse spiritual and intellectual ideas with breathtaking compositions is unrivaled. However, some argue that his focus on beauty over realism can make some of his pieces feel a bit less grounded compared to the more naturalistic works of others on this list. Still, his influence and legacy are undeniable. At number 2, we have the one and only Michelangelo, born in 1475 in Caprese, Italy. Michelangelo was a true genius. His talent spanned sculpture, painting, architecture, and poetry. He's best known for his monumental sculptures and his work on the Sistine Chapel ceiling, but his emotional depth and ability to convey human struggle in his art set him apart from nearly every other artist on this list. Fun fact: Michelangelo was incredibly perfectionistic and obsessed with his work. He was known to spend years working on a single project, like the Pietà, which took him over 2 years to complete. Despite his fame, he also struggled with feelings of isolation and doubt throughout his life. Let's take a look at his greatest works. The statue of David is arguably the most iconic sculpture in the world. The sheer power and grace of this biblical figure, carved from a single block of marble, is nothing short of astounding. The Sistine Chapel ceiling is Michelangelo's magnum opus. The grandeur of the frescoes depicting scenes from the Bible is awe-inspiring. The creation of Adam is arguably the most famous panel, capturing the divine moment when God reaches out to touch Adam's hand. The Pietà is a heartbreaking and beautiful sculpture of Mary holding the body of Christ. The tender emotion in this piece is beyond compare, capturing both grief and grace in a single moment. The Last Judgment, painted on the altar wall of the Sistine Chapel, is a massive, dramatic depiction of the end of time. The chaotic energy and raw emotion in this piece make it one of Michelangelo's most powerful works. Lastly, Moses is another incredible sculpture, showing the biblical figure in a moment of deep thought and reflection. The detail in the muscles and face is extraordinary, showing Michelangelo's understanding of human anatomy. So why does Michelangelo earn the number 2 spot? His ability to portray human emotion and struggle, along with his groundbreaking works in sculpture and painting, make him one of the most important figures in art history. However, some argue that his focus on idealized human forms and grandiosity sometimes overshadowed subtlety and balance, which is why he doesn't take the top spot. And finally, at number 1, we have Leonardo da Vinci. Born in 1452 in Vinci, Italy, Leonardo is often considered the pinnacle of Renaissance genius. Not only was he a brilliant artist, but he was also an inventor, engineer, and scientist. His work has influenced every artistic movement that followed, and his legacy continues to shape our understanding of art and the human experience. Fun fact: Leonardo was notorious for leaving works unfinished. He would often begin projects with great enthusiasm, but then move on to something else before completing them. It's said that his insatiable curiosity and desire to experiment led him to constantly change his focus. Leonardo's masterpieces include the Mona Lisa, of course, is one of the most famous paintings of all time. The subtle smile, the delicate shading, and the air of mystery make it a work of unparalleled beauty and intrigue. The Last Supper is another groundbreaking piece, where Leonardo uses perspective and human emotion to tell the story of Christ's final meal with his disciples. The depth of emotion and the precision of the composition make it a masterpiece of narrative and technique. Vitruvian Man may not be a painting, but it's one of Leonardo's most important works. This drawing of the ideal human proportions is a testament to his understanding of both anatomy and geometry, showcasing the intersection of art and science. Annunciation and the Baptism of Christ are both early works that show his mastery of light, perspective, and anatomy, setting the foundation for his later masterpieces. And lastly, St. John the Baptist is a haunting, mysterious portrait that shows Leonardo's exceptional ability to capture not just the likeness, but the psychological depth of his subjects. So why does Leonardo take the number 1 spot? His ability to blend art with science, his innovation, and his sheer genius have made him the most influential figure of the Renaissance. While some of his works were left unfinished, the ones that were completed have had an impact on every generation of artists since. Leonardo's work transcends time, making him the undisputed king of the Renaissance.